We all send them, event invites. It's just a normal part of the job. But what if I told you that simple calendar notification could actually become one of your most valuable data sources? Today, we're going to dig into how you can turn those invites from just a simple tool into a really strategic asset. Let's jump in. So think about it for a second. You send out an invite, probably through some third-party platform. You might see who opens it, maybe who clicks a link. But what's really going on? Who's genuinely interested and who's just kind of scrolling by? For most of us, it's a total black box, It's just filled with messy data and very little real insight. And this slide really nails the choice we're all facing. When you use those third-party platforms, you're wrestling with messy data. You're basically renting an audience, and there's no direct line to your fan. But when you take a first-party approach, that whole thing just flips on its head. The data becomes a super clear signal, the relationship is direct, and, this is the big one, you own that audience. Okay, so how do we actually make that leap? Well, the answer really boils down to this one core idea: owning the signal. It's all about taking back control from those third-party gatekeepers and building a direct line to the people who are most important to your brand. Now, just to be super clear, when we say first-party data collection, we're talking about something really simple but incredibly powerful. It just means capturing information straight from your audience, right at that moment they interact with your invite. This creates a relationship that's not only direct, but also, and this is critical, totally measurable. And this is the end game right here. When you own the whole system, every single invite becomes a direct line to your fan. You just cut out the middleman, you get rid of the weird, opaque algorithms, no more black boxes. All that's left is a clean, totally transparent connection. All right, so how does this actually work in practice? The first key piece of the puzzle is what we call the live intent signal. This is what transforms your calendar from just a static list of dates into this dynamic, real-time feed of your audience's interest and what they're planning to do. Here's the breakdown. Every invite you send creates a record that's tied to one specific person. As they respond, their status updates instantly across these 4 categories. No action just means it got there. Yes or no, those are obviously super clear signals. And maybe is where it gets really interesting. That's a tentative state, right? It's a lead that you can actually nurture and see if you can get it to convert. But here's the million-dollar question. People are fickle, right? We all are. So what happens when a fan clicks maybe, but then a week later decides, you know what, I'm definitely going? This is exactly where the old way of doing things just completely falls apart with manual spreadsheets and a whole lot of guesswork. In this kind of system, the whole process is just seamless. A fan RSVPs maybe, then later on they switch it to yes. The record for that person updates instantly. There's zero manual reconciliation needed. This automation doesn't just save a ton of time, it also completely eliminates the risk of human error. Okay, having a live RSVP signal is a massive step forward. But let's be honest, raw data is only the beginning. To make it truly powerful, we have to enrich that data with context so we can start to tell a real story. Because an event, whether it's an NFL game or a new product launch, it's never just a date and a time on a calendar. It has a whole story, a context. And that context is where the real gold for your analysis is hiding. So, how do we enrich it? Let's take that NFL game example. You could add week grouping to show where it falls in the season's rhythm. You can add team information, things like logos and details about the matchup. And then after the game, you can even pull in the stats and the final score to keep that event record alive and current. The event basically becomes a living document. The whole goal can really be summed up with this powerful idea. You want to turn events into dynamic content objects. What that means is they have value before, during, and long after they've actually happened, because they're just packed with all this rich, evolving context. So we've got a live intent signal, and we have our enriched event data. Now for the most important question of all. Why does any of this actually matter? What's the real-world payoff for owning your data like this? See, when you put real-time RSVP tracking together with this enriched event data, you're building something incredibly powerful, a first-party analytics layer that you, and only you, control. And that right there is the foundation for every other benefit that follows. So let's break down the 3 big benefits. First, as we've been saying, you truly own the signal.
And this isn't just some buzzword. It means that every single piece of data is direct, it's transparent, and it comes straight from your audience. You're not guessing based on some third-party metrics anymore. You know exactly who's interested and what because they're literally telling you themselves. Second, you gain this incredible operational clarity. I mean, just think of all the time wasted on updating spreadsheets by hand and trying to reconcile conflicting info. Because these RSVP states update automatically, that entire layer of busy work just vanishes. And so do the costly errors that come with it. You always have a clear, live picture of what's happening, which lets your team focus on strategy, not data entry. And finally, all this work creates actionable context. With rich data like team info, event types, or even final scores, you can go way beyond generic emails. You can start to segment your audience in really powerful ways and trigger relevant, timely follow-ups based on what they've actually done. This is how you turn raw data into a real, meaningful conversation with your community. And that really brings us to the final thought here. This whole thing isn't just about collecting data. It's about opening up an entirely new channel for communication. It's about building a smarter, more direct relationship with your audience. So I'll just leave you with this question. Once you truly own the signal, what are you going to ask your audience next?